Welcome to Mixology, the intersection of customer education and customer marketing. I'm Kristine Kukich, and along with Shannon Howard, we'll talk about how customer education and customer marketing are the scale engines of customer success. Welcome to episode 3 of Mixology, and we're talking go-to-market with education product this time, and we'll do that along with the Wilderton Bittersweet Aperitivo. Wilderton is an organization here in Portland that makes non-alcoholic concoctions. So this one happens to be a bittersweet aperitivo. So we're going to use 2 ounces of their bittersweet aperitivo mix with 3 ounces of club soda and a lemon twist as our ingredients. And then to put it all together, we'll use an old-fashioned glass, fill it with ice, add in the Wilderton Bittersweet Aperitivo, the club soda, and then stir to chill and mix, and add your lemon twist for decoration, and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back, everybody. We are in episode 3 of Mixology, and today's drink, here we go. This is the Wilderton non-alcoholic bitters piece. And that will get us started because maybe this is a bitter pill. Who knew? We're talking about go-to-market for education product today. And we're going to get started. Shannon, let's go through that whole description, right? Of what products we're talking about. What does that mean?
Yeah. So we've been talking about this, about how sometimes we'll create, a training, a piece of customer education content, and then kind of just hope, fingers crossed, that people are going to find out about it, join it, use it, whatever, right? So it's kind of this, it falls flat. We kind of take this build it and they will come approach. And just like you can't build a product and people are going to show up, you can't build a customer education program or initiative and then just hope that people discover it, use it, join it, get involved and engage. So really taking this mindset of how do we actually go to market with education as a product? And I think that starts, Kristine, with how do we have to think about customer education?
We have to really pull together and set up the product philosophy, right? The structure for it is really clear, and which means that we pull from the product marketing roadmap, right? And product, because we're doing exactly the same thing. So we need to educate everybody about what the purpose is for this, which leads into our other 2 talking points, right? Internal enablement and customer marketing, right? The customer enablement for this, just the knowledge about this new piece of content, this new video, this new event that we're hosting, right? ILT, VILT, maybe it's an event that's going to be co-sponsored against your customer user conference kind of thing, right? And if this is the first time you're bundling training and education with the conference. Mm-hmm. So the structure for all of that says we have to build the same kind of communication change management roadmap for our education product in as much as we would for whatever the product is that we sell, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's software or widgets, or as I said, my favorite, medical sterilizing equipment, right? They all require us to put together what that roadmap is going to look like in terms of communication to the outside world, to everybody not on our team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So in the last episode, we talked about how our customer marketing and customer education involved in go-to-market. And now we're talking about, well, customer education is a product too, and we need to think about it and treat it like a product. And we'll talk another day about kind of building customer education like you would a product. But I think now what we're talking about is we need to be intentional with go-to-market on customer education. So we can't just build it and hope that they come. We can't build it and say, all right, fam, here you go. Here's the customer education initiative, the video, the event. Good luck. We can't just expect that customer success is going to point all their customers there and that just solves all the problems. We need to, I always refer to it as like empower, equip, and enable. I think a lot of enablement is how do we empower and equip people to share about this? So let's say we're hosting some kind of event. Well, what is the event and when is it and why are we hosting it? And can we provide a brief description? In the same way that we might give a talk track for a product release, can we provide a talk track to our customer success managers around how to talk about this? If it's important, we talked about onboarding, right? Customer education being a part of onboarding, and that can be a differentiator. How does sales talk about that? How do they talk about the onboarding experience as part of what it is that our company offers? And I think maybe backtrack a second here, is to really think about like what we sell is not just our product. Like if you have customer education,
right,
you're not just selling a product. The education is valuable, and that's part of what you sell too. Your customer support is what you sell. Your customer success team is part of what you sell, and your services or education offerings, that's part of what you sell too.
And all of that fits in terms of the way that we enable our internal teams to talk about all of those services. We showed in a couple of videos ago what kind of a typical hierarchy could look like, how all of these things are bundled together. And if we're structured well enough for all of customer success, technical support, education, and marketing to play nice together, then that part of the enablement process is pretty much the rote idea of giving the talk track to those internal teams, right? To our CX teams, right? The customer experience side of the house, which still means that we have to push that information back to the sales side of the house, right? If we're bow tying, right? Everybody's talking bow ties these days. The left side of the bow tie is sales. The right side of the bow tie is customer experience. And if we're going to kick back to that left side, to the sales side, then we have to give them the same kind of information, right? As if we were a product, just like whatever it is we really sell. Because those aspects to what we do can be serious value drivers for our customers as much as the product. So the services that we have, of which customer education is a huge part, of course, biased a little bit here, but it's true, right? Education can be a push. So we have to make sure that our sales teams, our BDRs, our SDRs, understand the importance of what this new thing can do, right? If it were saying education is product, then we have to give them the same background in this product as they have with whatever our base product really is. The same is true, I think, for the sales team once we escalate up to sales. And then, of course, the right side of the bow tie is all of those other teams. The technical support people need to know how to refer to training and education from the tickets that they get so that we can leverage that education for ticket deflection. The customer success teams, one of the whole reasons we do this is the scale bit, right? They should be strategic advisors, not trainers. Mm. And let's let them do things that are, I don't want to say more important, because I believe that the education is important, but I also think that we need to, right?
Yeah, like that personalized connection. The customer education is the scale of training, the same thing that you might be teaching everybody, but CS, they're having that one-on-one relationship.
So that's the internal part, is making sure that we get all of those pieces put together. The customer communication is where we see the synergy, right? Those interactions again between customer ed and customer marketing, because that is what is the communication engine that drives all of this, right?
Yeah. So let me make sure. Yeah. Like I want to make sure I understand what you're saying, and we're all like on the same page of, so you've got this internal enablement component where you're going to market and you're thinking about, how do I talk about this to prospects and to customers? And how do I teach sales and CS right? There's these enablement components of how should sales be thinking about our onboarding or our events or this video like that we have. And then what is customer success? How are they talking about it? When should they be referring to it? On the customer communication part, this is really thinking about, we have this education initiative or this education content. How do we really systematically deliver that to the customer at the right time? So beyond like the initial go to market, and I think this is, if I could wave my magic wand and change something about how we go to market, it would be that go to market is not like a product releases, you have this big orchestrated effort and then you're done. It's an ongoing effort that you have to keep pushing that product and letting people know that it exists and pointing them to the training or whatever it is, like making people aware. And it's the same with our customer education initiatives. It's not like we ship it and we do this communication campaign, but it's also, where does that fit into life cycle communications? How are we maybe serving that up in app? How are we referring back to this constantly? Like, where does that live in a way that doesn't require us to, maybe I'll say like batch and blast, like a one-time promo.
Right. It's not a one-time thing. The information around education should be a continuous discussion with our customers so that they are always aware of new things, right? That's a big one. But also that they're always aware that what we do is support them in education. And we can do that throughout their life cycle with the product. So as they hire new people, we're there for them. As they advance in their skill sets, or they have a new module that they buy, or they buy a new piece of equipment, we're there for them to give them the education that they need to be able to fit this in their workflow, whatever that happens to be, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the important part.
Not even just in the customer life cycle in terms of, where are you in your journey with us? What do you have access to? But even in their, I don't know if we would say life cycle or their career progression, right? Like maybe today you're at this level of using the product, maybe you get promoted. Ideally, you get promoted. I was just talking with someone earlier today that I think in customer marketing and customer education, to us, success does not just mean that you become very masterful in our product, but that you grow in your career. Like that would ultimately be our end goal, is to help you grow professionally. And so if they are growing, then maybe the way that they interact with our product and our business is different. And so how do we support that? How do we support them maybe at this new level? What I hear you saying is not just how do we think about, right, are you on year 1, 2, 3, 4 of your contract? And have you attended these things before? But also, hey, you used to be in the weeds of this as an administrator. Now you're like a manager or whatever. And so how does that change your relationship? And how do we now serve you the right communications, the right education based on who you are today and how you've grown?
Exactly. And the journey that you've taken inside and outside of our product. Right?
Man, this is, look,
so it's not,
we're getting into this land of, I like big picture. How do we get the right message to the right person at the right time and just really know people on a deeply personal level of how they've interacted with us in and out of the product?
Probably a bigger discussion for another time, but I think our technology is going to help guide us there, much in the same way that we're seeing the ability to personalize through recommendation engines and various AI tools in education. I think that the marketing arm is going to see that as well, in the sense that we'll be able to look at product and product usage, recommend education content, and communicate that based on all of those factors by letting all the systems do the heavy lifting, which is possible now, but expensive.
Yeah. Right? So it's almost like letting AI, because I can imagine in my head of what you're talking about,
That again,
AI
but a
is like,
much
you're
longer
using this,
discussion.
you're using this, but I notice you don't really use this and you really should be using that. I'm going to surface this thing to help you like become aware or take your next step. This is the
And
dream.
feed it through my internal chatbot.
I know, it's like we can aspire and dream. Yeah, but okay, so we aspire and we dream to this state. But and this is like the conversation I was having with someone earlier today is, you know, in today's world, maybe we don't have the expensive AI, maybe we're not quite there yet, but that doesn't mean that we can't still do our best to think this way and to make sure we're not
Right.
creating and then hoping, you know, like content
Right.
creation without a distribution plan is a failure to plan. Your content is not going to be effective regardless of what it is. We could be talking education or marketing content, but we at the end of the day want to make sure that it gets into the hands of the right people at the right time, that internally people know what's accessible to them. So in the same way that, you know, you might have a digital asset management platform for your sales team to find customer stories or different things that maybe your product marketing or sales enablement teams have created. We want to make sure that these teams know where they can learn more about this or where they can find, whether it's the videos or the events or the training schedule or whatever it is that we want people to point to. We're making sure that, one, we're thinking about that. Customer success is talking about that in their conversations. Support is able to point people to that and say, hey, this is actually a topic that we cover in our training, and I would highly recommend that you register for that. Our sales team is talking about it as part of the value that we provide. When you become a customer, you don't just get access to a product, you get access to this, you know, these customer education offerings,
best practices, and
exactly.
all
Yeah,
kinds of cool stuff.
sort of how we package and position it. And then we're also making sure that we don't just go to market one time for this piece, but we have this ongoing communication. And I think of that of like, where else would this make sense to surface? Is this something that needs to live in the admin dashboard? Is this something that comes in some kind of in-app message when you get to part of the product?
Right. Through DAP. Yep.
Hey, if you need, you know, more hands-on, sign up for this group training. So like we're thinking, how do I think about it, maximizing the value of content? What are the different places that
of the content? Right. Exactly. Which means we need to take this into a separate conversation. So let's take these three as our kind of overview.
Yeah.
And in the next session, let's delve into how education leverages marketing in the whole product build. How's that sound?
All right. Let's go.
See y'all in a little bit. Give it enough of a pause. I was going to go mix the other drink, but I won't.
My foot is asleep.
I've got it in the fridge.
Ooh, yeah.